Jack Edwards, I want to thank you, man. Your comment from last night really just basically initiated a whole bunch of thinking about what I was doing yesterday with the sit-ups. So, I mean, you guys can stop the video here and read it. But basically, he goes on to say that the psoas is most active when your hip is greater than 90 degrees flexion. So the psoas really comes into play when you're kind of sitting on a chair and you're kind of raising your hip from a seated position, from that position onwards. So your knee goes from 90 degrees all the way to your chest. That's when kind of the psoas really kind of kicks in. So what you're seeing here is basically what the fellow actually said, which is basically put the dumbbell on your leg and do this. So this is kind of similar to what the knees over toes guy does with the setup that he does when he's standing and he kind of does the knee raise. Except this is basically only working from 90 degrees onwards. And so I tried to do it. So basically I did 5 sets of 20 with 5 kilos. And basically it was completely different sensation to what it is when you're doing sit-ups. Because, as Jack said, it's a different set of, I guess, leverages and the psoas works more. So I was really kind of getting a fire right in the crease of the hip, like right there. That's exactly where I was kind of feeling it. So I did this. I used to do this before. I only kind of like messed around with it, kind of like, I want to say like a year ago. I messed around with it a little bit for a few days, kind of feeling it out. But I never really gave it a good block. So it's interesting. It's really, really interesting. So the iliacus and the psoas, I showed you guys yesterday where kind of the psoas kind of originates from. It has most impact when you're above 90 degrees hip flexion. Now, everything like this is like this in the body. So it depends on where your femur is, depends where your hip is, depends on everything. Different muscles get called into different type of scenarios. So that doesn't mean that during a sit-up there is no psoas activation at all. There is, and I kind of looked it up last night and I read some papers. There is. The psoas also works when you're doing a straight leg sit-up. Straight leg sit-up is just, it's more activated when you're doing it in like this. So I decided to give it a try. I did this and then I went back to sit-ups afterwards. And basically the sit-ups felt like I didn't do anything. So it was kind of like I didn't pre-exhaust myself that much from doing, I don't know what you call this, seated psoas curls, I guess, I don't know. So that tells me that the psoas doesn't have a huge impact into your sit-ups, because by the time you get to 90 degrees in a sit-up, basically you sit up, just exactly when the psoas is supposed to take over, you're basically in line with gravity and there's not enough tension, in that position for the psoas to get worked at all. So I thought that was interesting. So I'm going to give this a bit more thought. I don't want to do it every single day, but I will be doing it maybe once every second day. But it's interesting. It's really interesting. The actual exercise that I picked to do wasn't doing exactly what I was expecting it to do. So I just want to thank Jack, because that kind of like initiated my whole bunch of research and thought, which is one of the biggest benefits of having this channel, man. Like, I learn a lot from you guys. I've said this in the past. It's an amazing thing, man. Like, I learn a lot. You guys learn a lot. It's just an awesome community. So after that, like I said, I went into sit-ups. And then after that, I couldn't wait to kind of get into the squats. And I really wanted to see what effect it had. So I'm still coming out of that sickness. I'm not 100% yet. But I feel like the psoas being engaged, man, that bottom position felt comfortable as anything, man. I just felt like I could have said that all day. So the psoas needs to be active, needs to be tense, it needs to be, in the game if you want to have really comfortable position at the bottom. I've said to you guys before, if you're struggling with the butt wink, a lot of you guys have kind of said to me, butt wink. Some of you guys have sent me videos on Instagram asking me for like opinions and stuff. And I've said to you guys, think about your psoas. Now, what I usually have said to people is kind of do what knees over toes guys does, the standing knee raise. Now, I did that even before the knees over toes guy kind of mentioned it. And then when I saw Denis Overtoga, I was like, oh, that's amazing. Like, he's actually come up with a bit of an instrument that you can kind of load easily. What I was doing back in the day was I was using a kettlebell, and I would just basically hook my foot, like hook the kettlebell and do it that way. But what he's done with that little device thing, I don't know what he calls it. It's really cool. But anyway, if you really want to hit the psoas, it makes sense just to do it in a seated position now. And don't worry about all the other stuff. So don't do it in a standing position. Do it in a seated position like I already showed you, and just kind of curl. You raise your knee to your chest. Try and kind of keep a flat back, and just go for gold. A set of 20 with a 5 kilo dumbbell, man, that really gets you going. And then what I found is that when I went into the squatting, it's fluid, easy, good control. My lower back was kind of like, I don't know, like protected. It's almost like there was, I don't know, extra range of motion there. So really, really interesting for that. Last night when I was kind of doing some research around the whole psoas thing, I also read an article by Greg Nuckols. Now, Greg Nuckols is a very well-respected author in these circles. He basically spoke about the impact the core has in the big lifts, and why we struggle where we struggle in the squat, kind of like just above that 90-degree knee, kind of a parallel, just above parallel. Why do we all kind of have a sticking point there? He goes on to talk about the core and whatever, and really cool article to check out. But one thing that really stuck out in my mind was he spoke about doing side planks before squatting and how that made him feel. And he said that kind of in his experience, 2/3 of people that he's kind of come in contact with that have tried this, 2/3 of people actually have improved squatting ability when you do side planks before squatting. And so he goes into why that might be the case. Basically, the internal and external obliques are beasts. I don't want to basically sound like, I've come up with this. I haven't come up with this. This is just a well-known fact. You need to do oblique training directly. I've kind of changed my tune on this. I've spent quite, some time last week at least, definitely since I've been sick, reading about this. The obliques are interesting because they are the number one muscle or set of muscles that basically create intra-abdominal pressure. And without intra-abdominal pressure, you can't basically squat your maximum weight. So if you can make that muscle stronger, if you can have a better mind-muscle connection, you can brace better, and you will have better positioning in the bottom of the squat, especially the bottom of the squat, because you're in the most compromised position in the bottom. So I'm all about the core now. Like I've been doing a lot of reading about it. It's interesting. There are a lot of core exercises out there, Russian twists, leg raises. Like there's all sorts of things that people come up with. My stance on all of this is that if you can't load a particular exercise, if you can't progress it, if you can't add further load, it's not a good exercise. So stuff like, Russian twists, I guess you can load it a little bit, but it's not really scalable. Like I'm always looking for exercises that I can progress in. So stuff like suitcase carries, you can load that up really easily, right? You can take it for a walk, you can add weight, you can have it, in a kind of kettlebell position, you can have it in your hand, you can have it in a zerch, you can do all sorts of things with that. So that's a really good exercise. But I'm always kind of on the lookout of kind of developing better ideas of how to train my core. I think the obliques are key. I think the rectus abdominis is key. I think the transverse abdominis is also very important, like that muscle which sucks your belly button into your spine. That's also been proven to be a natural weightlifting belt for us. So that needs to be stronger. So anytime you can kind of attack on top of your compound lifting, anytime you can attack the core, I think it's in your best interest. It puts you in a better position. It makes you use your legs more. It removes that leaking of power through the chain. By the way, this is 180 with my son in the background chilling out. Yeah, just really, really comfortable. I can see it on the screen as well. I'm really comfortable at the bottom position there. So, that's a direct result of me, activating the psoas and being mindful of what it's doing. And then after that, I went into some deadlifts. I haven't done deadlifts, I don't know, God knows how long. Man, the same old story with the deadlifts. As soon as I get sick, as soon as something happens, it just drops off. So anyway, I decided to do some deadlifting. I basically did singles all the way to 220. 220 was it was a grinder. I wasn't expecting it to just slow down like that. I was saying to my cameraman, like 100, 150 felt like crazy. I actually said to him, man, something special could happen today. Like I could break my kind of personal record. That's what I was thinking. And then 220 moved so damn slow. Maybe it's because I pre-exhausted my core with doing all these damn sit-ups and doing the Psoas work. But check this out. Like this felt really good. I don't know how it looked on camera. Let me just check this out. It looked kind of slow on the camera. It looked so damn good I felt so damn good when I was doing it. This is what I was thinking. This is something might happen today. Anyway, so this is 200. 200 kind of moved all right. But it was just surprising that I couldn't hit 230 today. But anyway, I'm still kind of coming out of the sickness and all the work, but whatever. So deadlifting, for whatever reason, is feeling really good to me after Psoas work. So obviously we know that the lower back is, very much involved in the deadlift. And so what's on the other side of the lower back? So you've got the erectors, you got the QL, you got all sorts of muscles kind of on the back of you, but inside your gut is the psoas. The psoas goes from T12 to L5 and it goes straight into your femur. So, I don't want to say things that I haven't experienced yet, but I feel that, look how slow this thing is. So damn slow. I want to say that the psoas should be looked at if you're thinking about deadlifting bigger numbers. So this is the part of the trial right now. I want to see this direct work and what effect it has on the squat and the deadlift. I went back to sit-ups here again, loaded it up a little bit. I was very exhausted here. Like this felt like slow work. But I'm basically giving the core work a trial, and the sit-ups I feel like are a staple. But then the psoas work, hanging leg raises, I might transition from sit-ups to hanging leg raises. This is kind of on my mind right now because I feel like there's a whole bunch of leaking going on within my system, and I want to minimize that. It's just, it's boring ass work to do core. Man, it's boring as anything. I don't get excited. I mean, I think that's why a lot of people don't do core. It's just so freaking boring. But I think it's worth your time. So I think I'm going to be bored for the next few weeks. But anyway, if there's results come, I'm all for it. All right, guys, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.